Hello and welcome to the one and only Pop Culture Junkie podcast. We trademarked that name, bitches.
That's right.
That's right. That's right.
We are litigious.
Litigious.
We are litigious.
I like that.
Yes. Yeah, not really, actually.
Who are you?
My name is Olivia.
My name is Shauna.
Yeah, and it's so good to be back with you guys. If it's your first time with us, welcome. We're so excited to have you. And if you're a returning listener, we're ready to get into it. So,
Right.
Shauna, since I've been gone, I've heard that you actually had quite the encounter.
I did. Okay. So I have 2 jobs. I don't know how it happened. Whoops. The Academy.
Technically 3.
Oh, God. This is a job, too.
Yeah.
Shit. I need to
It's
cut
good
back.
that it doesn't feel
This is
like
my
it.
last
Yeah.
episode. So I bartend at a place in Phoenix, and it was a chill Sunday night, and this guy walks in, and he had a mask on, like a COVID-style mask, and just has on a baby blue, like, New York Yankees hat with the sticker still on, blingy fucking belt, and these clean Jordans.
Okay.
And it's like, can I buy something so I can charge my cell phone? And I said, well, yeah, of course. You want a beer?
Yep.
So he sits at the bar, plugs in his cell phone, and I was like, what do you usually like to drink? Bud Light. Like, well, we don't have any Bud Light because we're a craft beer bar, but here, let me pour you like a light beer or something similar. So I put it down in front of him, and it came out to like $6, and he puts down a 20. I give him his change, and he just leaves the change sitting there.
Nice.
And after a couple minutes, he's like, this is your tip.
Yeah.
Like, okay, interesting. He leaves the mask on, and he's sitting there talking to a guy at the bar, and they're talking about Kid Cudi and Kanye, like old Kanye versus new Kanye.
And I thought this was the most interesting part. So they're going into this discussion
of music.
How Kanye has really started to go downhill,
He
right?
said that he does not like... I haven't even said who this is yet.
Yeah, no, but that's the point.
Okay. So he's talking about how new Kanye's music's weird. He has some song, I guess I didn't listen to it because fuck Kanye, where he repeats the same term like 23 times. And he was like, seriously? You think that's cool? To the next guy. Like they were just joking around.
Riffing. Because he's like, oh, I think Kanye's a mastermind.
Was like, I don't know. I still like him. And he's like, you thought that was cool?
You thought that was good?
He said that 23 times. You thought that was good? And I'm looking at him, and all I can see is his eyes. And I said, you look a lot like Lil Nas X. And he's like, yeah, I get that a lot. At this point, he still has not taken a single sip of this beer.
Because he doesn't want to take the mask off,
He doesn't want
right?
to take the mask off.
Yeah.
And so I start putting like this together. I'm like, why did he tip us so much for a single beer that he hasn't even drank, hasn't taken his mask off because he doesn't want us to see his face.
Yep.
So he's there for a while. He ends up buying like a can to go. He only takes off his mask when he goes to the back of the restaurant. Where no one can see him.
Yeah.
And I see him dancing to the music like this. And I was like, and I texted my coworker and I said, Doug, I'm pretty sure that's Lil Nas X. Like, I think that is him.
Yeah.
So he's closing out, and he pays for the to-go beer and again tips another like $10, $20. And I was like, you have to tell us if you're secretly Lil Nas X, okay? And he just goes, oh, you caught me, all jokingly. A black sedan pulls up in the middle of the street outside with tinted windows. He walks up, gets in the back seat, and drives away. Yeah. And I go to Lil Nas X's Instagram page, and he's in Arizona.
Oh, wow.
And he posted the same hat that he was wearing. So it was 100% Lil Nas X.
I love it that he's like, oh, I'll pay for something. It's like, you could have just been like, can I charge my phone?
He could have been like, I'm Lil Nas X. Can I charge my phone? Yes.
I would have probably had a lot more questions like, what's going on?
Why are you here? Yeah. He walked in through like the weird side entrance on the street.
Oh, maybe he has like a hookup.
That's because the rest of the night was just us. All the customers who came and all the regulars were like, Lil Nas X was just here.
Yeah, and so the real tea of it all is the opinion on Kanye.
It's the correct opinion.
It's the correct opinion
much better
on
than new
Kanye.
Kanye.
Yeah, and
he was very nice. He was so delightful. Yeah. And then I found a lot, because I was searching Reddit. I was in a Lil Nas X Reddit hole the rest of the night. Yeah. And I found a lot of pictures of him wearing those shoes, wearing the belt with the hat. And
so you really went in.
Oh, I had to confirm. Okay. Yeah.
I love that.
He was delightful.
He was delightful. Well, the one time I'm gone, I was like, damn it.
Literally. And I took that shit from another bartender that she came in later to like drink. And she's like, the one night I'm not working, you get to meet Lil Nas X. Oh, after I told him that he looked like Lil Nas X, I was like, that's a compliment, by the way, because I love him. And I really do. Like, I love him so.
He's like, it's so meta.
It was amazing.
That is true. Like, I bet you celebrities really look at COVID so differently because they did get anonymity that they didn't normally have. And like, I think Lil Nas X has very distinct eyes, but even then it's like, do you know like who that person is? And like, you know, like someone like a Harry Styles.
Yeah.
Who would normally get like stalked. Like people figured out what his mask face looked like. But for like a period of time, like they were able to like kind of go out and like exist. So it's probably like a weird juxtaposition for them of like, oh yeah, I can just look like someone who's like a germaphobe.
Yeah, and like when he first walked in, that's what I just kind of assumed. I mean, no offense to anyone who still wears masks. Like immune deficiency people, you do you.
Need to
but then it became clear that he's not even drinking the beer. He never took a single sip of the beer the entire time.
I guess you would have to go like up enough.
Like, and then I saw one picture of him recently and he had like grills and stuff. And
then you would have really, it's like, who's this man with a diamonds in his teeth in front of me?
The biggest diamond earrings too. Like the longer I looked at him, I was like, this is a wealthy person. I have my Shein earrings on. I'm like, this is a rich person.
I love that so much. Well, while you were meeting Lil Nas X, I was actually watching The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, which a very, very, very different
speaking of Lil Nas X
spectrums. Yeah. Well, you know, Taylor Frankie Paul, who's like the main character on the show, is known for the soft swinging Mormon.
Okay, wait, real quick clarifying question. Is this a reality show or a scripted show?
It's a reality show.
Okay, what's it on?
It's on Hulu now, but it started with these TikTokers. And so basically, like a couple years ago, this soft swinging Mormon scandal came out.
Soft swinging?
It's everything but like actually having sex.
So soaking?
They didn't get that far into it, but they were like swapping. They were like swapping husbands and doing all this stuff.
Other stuff besides sex? Like,
no, they weren't doing sex. Yeah. They weren't doing sex, but they're doing everything but. And so it comes out it comes out on Reddit. And so this girl, Taylor Frankie Paul, decides to just be like, you know what? Screw it. No one's taking my story. I'm going to go tell it. And she gets on the internet and starts telling this whole story. And, you know, the Hulu producers were like, we got to get on this.
Horny Mormons.
And so they start shooting this pilot with this woman, Taylor Frankie Paul. As this happens, she starts dating another guy. While they're filming the pilot, she gets arrested for domestic violence.
Oh, my God.
And it is called The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. And it's all about this Mormon mom talk, like...
Is it like Utah, like they are very Mormon?
Some of them are very Mormon. Some of them are not very Mormon on the show.
Are they like fundamentalists?
Yeah. I mean, most Mormon Utahs are very, very strict just because they've grown up in that culture. So this is how the world got introduced to them. And then you come in and it's the first episode, I will not lie, is a little hard to get through. But after it hooked me.
Interesting.
Oh my God, it's so good. I never followed them before, but now I'm just like so sucked in on all their drama. There's a bunch of after cast drama.
What? Maybe I'll give it a whirl. I don't really like reality shows most of the time.
She wants to play the victim so bad, but in term, she made herself the biggest villain in the whole show. And it's so good. And I'm just so excited for season 2. So
oh my God.
Very opposite sides of the spectrum. But
no, that sounds incredible.
We were having fun. I was in at a hotel in San Francisco, learn about Utah, but 2 very different places. Let's say that,
It's so funny that like the things that we watch when we were in a hotel room for an extended amount of time, like you end up rewatching old Adam Sandler movies. They're always on.
Yeah.
Happy Gilmore's always on.
Yeah.
Or you find some E or was Bravo or something and you're like
an old Sex in the City.
Yeah, it's always old Sex in the City.
Yeah.
I watch that in every hotel room.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like you got to find something to kill those evenings.
Kill those evenings.
Awesome. Well, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Speaking of what might happen to us in the afterlife, we're going to talk about a movie sequel that recently came out that was 40 years in the making. The biggest movie news this past year or so, probably, was the announcement of a sequel to Beetlejuice, some 49 years since the first one. I'm just kidding. It was 36. That's still.
You made me feel pretty old. Like,
what?
I was like, wait,
what?
What? How did that work?
Tim Burton made a sequel to the first movie, and it just came out. We're going to talk about that and have a slightly spoilery discussion. But let's first revisit the reason for the sequel, 1988's Beetlejuice.
Yes, and so like we mentioned, we're going to talk a little bit about Beetlejuice. It came out 36 years ago, so. We are going to spoil that a little bit for you.
We will spoil this movie that came out in the 80s. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Once we get into the newest movie that came out, Beetlejuice, we will kind of let you know when the spoilers are so you can pause it, come back after you've seen the movie. But, really earlier today, I wanted to actually go in and rewatch Beetlejuice. I know you guys had done an episode on Beetlejuice in the past.
That was pre-Olivia.
I had joined. So I wanted to kind of quickly give out my rendition of my Beetlejuice thoughts and really ultimately what I thought of the movie. The first note that I have for you guys is, how did I forget Alec Baldwin used to be so hot?
He was so handsome in this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
and Gina Davis is gorgeous.
Yeah. I think it's all the evil inside of Alec Baldwin that made me forget it. And that has made him just like rapidly lose it.
You just
over
get like
time.
saggier and older and more cranky and shoot all the people
hate.
And
all the
tell
hate
off his daughter.
And racism and all those things. But really, a rapid succession of my note is, what would you realistically do if your neighbor was putting your house on the market without your consent? Like,
can you imagine?
Like, she just comes in and is like, this house is much too big for you. I've actually put it on the off, or I put it up, and I'm already getting offers for it.
How dare you live here, first of all?
Because you don't have children. Like, and it's like, what a crazy concept of just your neighbor actually putting her house on the market without your consent.
She was hustling. She's a real estate agent. She needs some work. It's chill. I love these just random notes. Okay, go on.
The next one is, that dog had murder in its soul.
I forgot there was a dog.
The dog murders them. Well, not murders them.
It like runs in front of the car.
Yeah, it runs in front of the car.
That's
and then they actually like fall into the water.
Right, okay.
Which, I do have some semantics of it because the windows were open. So like realistically, how could we not get out of the car?
Maybe they just gave up.
Yeah, they just said, you know what, screw it.
I mean, at some point, you just kind of go, take me.
When I was actually,
Jesus, take the wheel.
When I was researching this, though, the original script for this film had a much, much darker turn that they were going to do, where it was these people from within the city of wherever they are in Connecticut is like chasing them, like kind of like pitchfork style. What? And ultimately, like they're like trying to avoid them and they drown.
So they died in like the 1600s or something.
Yeah, they drowned like horrifically, like while these people were chasing them. And they ended up cutting it out of the story to make it like more of like a horror comedy, and ultimately I think it was a good choice. But the original
dog running out in front of your car and you fall off a bridge, like that's
it's pretty like
tame way to go.
Like I'm in my dream house, my staycation, and then they end up getting there. My next note was ultimately, if there are cigs in the afterlife, does that mean that there's weed? I'm asking the really important questions.
Olivia wants to know before she goes if she can bring her Rick and Morty bong.
Yeah,
it's a fair question.
Is Rick and Morty coming with me? He better. Meeseeks, you know?
Did you name your bong Mr. Meeseeks?
Yeah, because it helps me with so many things, you know? Meeseeks.
He's there to help you.
Yeah, and then my final note in this one was Keaton must have had so much fun being this character. And he's recently said in interviews that this is actually his favorite character he's played of all time.
He just gets to be so silly and goofy. And he gets that one F-bomb per movie.
Yeah, I wonder if he was like channeling a specific person. Like, you know how Patrick Bateman is inspired by Tom Cruise?
Jumping up and down the couch,
yeah, I'm really, or just the psychopath that Tom Cruise is like, who do you think Keaton was like channeling? Like in my mind, the first thing I thought of was like Harvey Weinstein.
Oh my God. Because Beetlejuice is a fucking creep, okay?
Beetlejuice really is.
In the first movie, he's a predator.
He's very, very touchy. He's like groping. Yeah, he's feeling groping. Them up.
Real quick, we've already kind of covered it, but Beetlejuice was directed by Tim Burton and Michael McDowell. Warren Scarr and Larry Wilson got writing credits. Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis were in it. Famously, Michael Keaton that we mentioned, and our fave here at the podcast, Winona Ryder. The obnoxious Beetlejuice, played by Michael Keaton, was kind of a predator. He wants to marry Lydia, who is 15? A teenager.
Yeah.
She's strange.
Yeah.
And unusual.
She's so weird.
I quote Beetlejuice all the time to Andrew whenever I'm like in a depressive episode or because I'm, quote, goth adjacent. She's like,
yeah.
My whole life is a dark room. One dark room. He's like, are you doing okay?
Yeah. No.
Have I ever?
I do think it's kind of interesting. So, like, the way that Tim Burton displays purgatory really ultimately is like this civil servant government office.
Isn't it sad? Like, even after you die, you still have to have a job. Yeah. Are you kidding me? That's my hell.
Well, that's like the joke where in the first one, she's like, I wouldn't have had my little accident if I knew this was going to happen. So, like, Tim Burton's portrayal of purgatory, which is where you go in religion if you unalive yourself, is civil servanthood.
It's kind of weird, like, if you think about Tim Burton's, I don't know, concept of the afterlife, like you're saying. So there's a heaven and a hell, it seems like. And then in this area where Beetlejuice and the waiting room exists is kind of your waiting room. So when you first die, no matter how good you are on Earth, you have to go here.
Yep.
And then they decide whether or not you go to the great beyond or you burn in hell. So
the way that I thought of it more was Burton's idea was you are within the place that you died. And if you want to try to go somewhere else or change that, like you go into that civil servanthood. But I don't know if the lore behind it has really been broken down or meant to be.
I mean, I guess we'll get
I'm sure someone smarter than us has done it. But.
Right. I guess we'll get a little into it when we talk about the sequel.
Yep.
Because they have different levels of kind of the afterlife that they tease. So I guess we'll retouch that there.
Yeah.
But I would hate to think that I was like a good person my whole life and then I die and I'm just like, Shauna, you have to work at the DMV now. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. Like, no, wait, what? I should have sinned more.
If I had known I was just going to be at the DMV no matter what, I would have done a lot more fucked up things.
I would have had a lot more fun. Well, what's really interesting about the first Beetlejuice movie, and I think a lot of people forget this is actually Tim Burton's second movie that he ever did.
I didn't know that. What was the first one?
Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Oh my God, I always forget that he did that.
Yeah, so he was very like fun and kind of silly and goofy. Yeah. And that's how people saw him. And a lot of the people who took this all thought that their careers were going to be ended by taking this on.
Interesting.
But they believed in it as like an independent film and something that was worth saying. And most people don't know this, but the studio at the last minute wanted to rename it from Beetlejuice to House of Ghosts, which are you fucking House of Ghosts? What?
That's it's dumb.
The dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Don't like.
And in sarcasm, Tim Burton said we should just call it Scared Sheetless. And the producers didn't take it as a joke, and it was almost called Scared Sheetless, which I actually wouldn't have hated because they do have the sheets over them in the first movie, and it's a little bit of tongue in cheek within it, but. I think ultimately, like, for it to not be Beetlejuice would just be, like, there is a alternate universe where that exists, and who knows?
the Burton cut.
Yeah,
Scared Sheetless.
Yeah, Scared Sheetless.
I love the practical effects in the original Beetlejuice. And they bring that a lot back for the second one, how it's kind of the claymation practical. Yes. I love that style that Tim Burton brings to stuff.
So the first movie, out of all the budget, they only dedicated $1 million to CGI in the original movie. And at the time, CGI was not what it is today. Yeah. So that was ultimately like nothing in there. And he really wanted to keep that practical element. And he's really done that a lot throughout the movies that he's been within. Actually, one of the main negotiation points that Tim Burton and Michael Keaton both had with doing Beetlejuice was they did not want overproduction of CGI and that they had to continue stop motion and a lot of these real aspects of the movie. Yeah. And some interesting facts that I found while I was researching for this is instead of the iconic Day-O song that we all know that is persistent throughout the movie, it was actually almost 2 different songs.
Ooh, what songs?
Instead. And so it's If I Didn't Care by the Ink Spots would have been within the dinner scene. I'm not familiar. It's a song from 1939.
Okay.
So don't blame me for not knowing it. And then in the final scene where Lydia is with the lifted up after she passes
and levitating.
It was going to be When a Man Loves a Woman.
Oh, that's kind of cute. Wait, what did it end up being? I don't remember.
Jump in the Line. Any of the football players and all that in there.
Right. So, oh man. Oh my God, that scene at the dinner table where they're singing Day-O is so funny.
Where they can't stop it.
Yeah,
and
Catherine O'Hara is amazing because she puts her facial expressions of just being confused but also dancing.
She has such good physical comedy.
You know, okay, I watched Beetlejuice when we had our Beetlejuice episode 3 years ago, maybe. I didn't see Beetlejuice until I was in my 20s.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. I have no idea why.
I think I was 9.
And that's most people, most millennials. It escaped me. I don't know why. And I also used to be very sensitive. I had a sensitive disposition as a child.
To what?
Things just scared me very easily.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so if I saw something in a movie or something that I thought was scary or thought might be scary, I was like, I don't want to watch that. It looks scary.
Really?
And now I love horror movies, and now not a whole lot offends me unless it's gratuitous violence. But no, I think as a kid, I just thought, oh, that looks like a scary movie. I don't want to watch that. So it took me a long time. But I mean, now I love it. I think it's amazing.
That's interesting. Well, in the original script, Larry Wilson, he's one of the producers, actually talks about the original ending for Lydia was actually going to be significantly darker.
Ooh.
And the film would have ended with Lydia dying in a fire and joining her friends in the afterlife.
What? No, that's awful.
They changed it considering the message it would send to young people that death would be a happy ending.
Yeah.
And she was dealing with suicidal ideations throughout the movie.
She's depressed
the whole movie. So I think that it was good that they changed it.
That reminds me of the finale of Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. She dies, and then her boyfriend ends up killing himself so he can be with her in the afterlife. And I remember thinking that ruined the whole show. It's so it's young people watching this stuff, and they think, oh, I could just kill myself to be with my friends again.
No,
that's not
terrible.
How it works. No.
And some original script things that were changed. Beetlejuice. Well, first, Lydia wasn't going to be the main character. Lydia had a sister who's going to be the main character. Weird. They ended up cutting her. Beetlejuice was supposed to be a short Middle Eastern man who eventually turned into a bat with wings thing. And Tim Burton decided to change that. And the original director on this project was actually Wes Craven before he left, and they gave it to Tim Burton.
Interesting. So, how different would it have been if it was a Wes Craven film?
Within the original script. I think the original script would have made sense for Wes Craven because, the brutal murder from the townspeople.
It would have been a lot darker and maybe not a tongue-in-cheek comedy.
Yeah, and not the cult classic it is today. But
a fun fact that I know about Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice is only on screen for 18 minutes in the first film.
Yeah.
So he makes such an impact in that first movie with such little screen time, and the whole thing's named after him.
Yep.
But it's you watch that movie and you don't realize, really? He was only in it for 18 minutes? That's insane.
You know the part where he kicks down the tree and he's like, what is this? And grabs his nuts or whatever. That is
so
actually
gross and offensive.
Yeah, that is actually an outtake of the set actually wasn't supposed to do that, and he kicks it, and it falls down, and he was doing that at the set, a designer, and he was
God,
and Tim Burton decided to keep it in.
That's hilarious.
So there are a lot of those little moments within it. One of the really interesting things that I saw from everyone within this project and a lot of Tim Burton projects is he lets people lead with the character they want to to go forward with. Like he's
let
very
them
open.
play around with it.
Yeah,
and Beetlejuice is such a bombastic character that you have to let him kind of riff. Like, you have to. You throw Jim Carrey or Robin Williams in a movie. You got to let them just play a little bit, just do their thing.
And everyone who's worked with him, and a lot of the people who do work with him, stick with him for a very long time because he has such a specific directorial style and lets artists be artists. And I think, Tim Burton, this being his second film is so crazy because he's so influential and, really makes Winona Ryder so influential after this moment.
Johnny Depp, eventually with his career, Edward Scissorhands, that's Tim Burton, right?
Yeah, it's after.
Yeah.
After this.
And Winona again.
Yeah.
Helena Bonham Carter, who was his wife. And I think,
wife and muse.
Yeah, and they still, I think, are probably on good terms from what I've seen. And
I think so. Yeah. Now he has a new muse, which people are questioning. But I think it's just people just love Helen Bonham Carter. And no one's ever going to compete with her. She's so unique. And
the word muse just reminds me of back in the day. I'm his muse, Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems. It's his muse.
I want to be someone's muse.
Beetlejuice ultimately was a movie with a $15 million budget that actually ended up grossing a $75 million box office.
Yes. And it won an Oscar. I did not realize that.
For best makeup.
Yeah. The makeup is incredible. And I mean, it's really good in the sequel as well. Just, the practical effects. Like, you can tell that Michael Keaton is just... Yeah. There's no CGI on him unless silly things are happening. Beetlejuice's eyes are popping out or his head spins around. But otherwise, he's just makeup and a wig and looks crazy as hell.
Yeah, and ultimately, the first Beetlejuice, there's a TV show. I don't know if you knew that. I never watched it.
Okay, so it's funny. I had never seen the Beetlejuice movie as a kid, but I watched the cartoon.
Okay.
And that wasn't too scary for me.
Yeah, because it was Lydia and Beetlejuice solving their underworld crimes,
and
right?
they're buds. They're kind of more the same age, and they're, I don't know, Beetlejuice is a dead man, but they make them best friends.
Yeah.
She summons Beetlejuice in her bedroom just to hang out with him and solve crimes. And she's a cute little goth girl, and she opens her own boutique at one point, which is my favorite episode. And Beetlejuice, it's failing because it's a goth boutique.
Yeah.
And so he somehow hypnotizes the town folk to all
go buy her and become a goth.
Shop till you shriek at Lydia's boutique. And they all zombies walk in there. It's pretty cute.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, ultimately, the first Beetlejuice cannot be beat, but we're here to talk about how the sequel pairs up to the original.
Yes. I think it pairs very well, but we will take a little break and then talk about our thoughts on Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. So Tim Burton said he wouldn't make a sequel unless Michael Keaton reprised his role as Beetlejuice, and that came true. Winona Ryder started working on Stranger Things, and she warned the Duffer Brothers, if there's ever a chance to do a sequel to Beetlejuice, you have to give me the time off for it. Because this movie was teased for years. There were so many fake posters on Facebook of fan-made art where everyone would go, oh my God, is it finally happening? No, not yet, not yet. That it almost felt like a joke when it was finally...
Yes.
We were all are you serious? No, that's fake. No, it's actually real this time.
So the original sequel that was supposed to be happening was Beetlejuice Goes to Hawaii.
No,
where yes.
It's where, Brady Bunch.
Yeah, right. Where the Dietz family decides to open a bunch of properties in Hawaii and really go colonize like they love to.
Isn't that the plot of the sequel to Weekend at Bernie's? I think they go to Hawaii.
I don't know, maybe. They said, where we need them?
Fodder.
Yeah, and so ultimately that failed, which thank God.
Thank God.
And so I watched a lot of interviews and a lot of press that these actors were doing, both the new cast and the older cast, and their biggest thing was leave it alone. If you don't have something good, we really do not want to reprise this. Yeah. And we want to leave it as a standalone. And they'd had a history of saying that where we're not going to just make a Beetlejuice to make just a Beetlejuice. The sake of it, yeah. We want it to be really, really good. And once Tim Burton met Jenna Ortega, he really found that, inspiration.
She's so perfect. So he thought he was done with movies, but he directed 4 episodes of Wednesday, which you can see his influence in so much.
Yeah.
Especially with the main monster bad guy.
Yep.
Like, is a Tim Burton character.
Yep.
But yeah, like you said, he met Jenna Ortega, convinced him to reassess the potential for the Beetlejuice sequel, and she ended up playing Lydia's daughter, Astrid. Okay, so we're going to get into some spoiler territory
So spoilers,
here.
Pause. We will see you after you see it. Come back.
Still download. Thanks for joining us. Okay, bye.
Yeah, we love you.
Anyway, spoiler time. I loved this movie.
I did as well.
Yeah.
I thought it was really, really well done. I thought that they did fan fodder, but not in such a way where it took away from the story.
Exactly. There wasn't so much Easter egg that the whole time you're like, oh yeah.
Call back.
Yeah.
Because
Because those kind of sequels are just money grabs and just, there's no story to tell.
Yep.
The Zoolander sequel, right?
Yes.
Like,
I don't even remember that.
Exactly.
I think it's because I refused to watch it.
Yeah. And the Anchorman sequel.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing new to come.
Sure. Yeah.
This felt new, like they had the old cast reprising their roles. Catherine O'Hara, Michael Keaton, Winona Ryder is back. The Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin are not back.
Because Ghost can't age.
Because Ghost can't age, which is a good point, but also Alec Baldwin can't get work right now.
Yeah.
And they had some weird little...
Very insurable at this moment.
Not really. There's too many guns involved in the set of Beetlejuice.
And he's not hot enough anymore.
No, he's not hot enough. They did have a weird kind of explanation in this movie for why they're not haunting the house anymore. And Lydia, in a throwaway line, goes...
We found a loophole.
And they rolled a crossover, and then it's just like done.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's like I wanted a little more than that. Like, could you
something?
Given me like some lore, some building of your universe, other than just like
they did crossover,
yeah.
Because they did establish in this movie, like we talked about earlier, that there are different levels to the afterlife. So you go to this purgatory waiting room, and then you get your passport or your ticket stamped, and then you go on the Soul Train, which cracks me up every time because it's literally like all aboard the Soul Train disco.
70s, like, to the great beyond.
And you either go to the great beyond, but then the other one said the Fields of Elysium, which is what that priest was talking about earlier, which was funny. And then you and I cracked up at that part.
There's this like creepy priest in it because so basically the reason for Beetlejuice is the Dietz father dies. Can't even remember his name. He's not that important. Charles. Yeah, Charles Dietz dies, and so they're all going back to bury him within the Connecticut home where everything is happening.
Yes. The actor who played Charles, Jeffrey Jones, was not invited back for this movie.
He has some trouble.
He's got some legal troubles.
And we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, and so they made him die a very gruesome death.
Where it's like half his body.
He's essentially headless the entire movie, but the practical effect is so gruesome where just blood is squirting out of his neck hole every time he talks, like, blah. And then the scene that shows how he died is claymation, like stop motion, which was really cute.
Yeah, I do have to say though, claymation gives me uncanny valley, and it makes me really, 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 really uncomfortable. So
we should
like
unpack that.
It's like a human programming thing.
Well, uncanny valley, but like claymation gives you that.
It's like we evolved to know when things don't look that way.
I mean, like the Polar Express movie gives me uncanny valley,
exactly.
but that's because they're trying so hard to make them look
humanoid.
But
that like, they don't.
Why didn't they just?
They don't look right.
Humans.
They don't look right. That's why. Right. Yeah, exactly.
The claymation, I'm like, this is so far removed from reality.
No, but we could do a whole episode on why I think humans developed the ability to.
Let's do an episode on Uncanny Valley.
Yeah,
okay.
Uncanny Valley.
Write that down. Quick.
But, I really, really love this movie. Some of the things that I wanted to call back to is Lydia's show is called Ghost House.
Yeah.
Which, as I said in the beginning, was what the
House of the Ghost something.
What the studio wanted to call Beetlejuice in the beginning. So they had some kind of funny callbacks, like if you know the deep history of like Beetlejuice.
That's cute.
That you can start to see it.
Winona as Lydia was amazing in this movie. She has like the same nuance experiences as Lydia, but she's not as depressed. I mean, she's definitely going through some Beetlejuice PTSD. Anytime she sees black and white stripes, she's like, oh God. Like, and we've come to find out he's actually kind of like stalking her somehow. Like, this guy's got a hard on for her.
Lydia,
At least now she's a grown woman.
Yes.
So it's a little more appropriate. But the picture he has framed at his desk is definitely of like a teenage girl. Just that he's like, sweetie.
Yeah, he's like, oh yeah, I love this 15-year-old.
Yeah, like,
and so there are a lot of new characters that get introduced. At the end of the first Beetlejuice movie, whenever he's about to try to marry Lydia, he pulls like a finger out of his pocket. Right. And there's a ring on it. And he goes, sorry, she didn't mean much to me. Don't worry about her.
I forgot.
And so that finger that he had in his pocket ends up being the main villain within this.
Yeah, she was the main villain, but I don't think she was very necessary to the plot.
Yeah.
The movie would have been just as good without her. But it's Monica Bellucci. Yeah, she plays Beetlejuice's ex-wife. The scene that describes kind of how Beetlejuice died and how she died was hilarious.
It was great, yeah.
And he's speaking Spanish for some reason.
So we know he started in Spain, I guess.
Yeah. He speaks Spanish at the end of the movie again, too. Yeah. Like, is Beetlejuice from Spain? All right, I'll allow it.
He is, like, kind of described as, like, a timeless being. So, like, you still don't really know. But it was funny, like, the traditional ceremony where we ate the chickens off of heads and sacrificed the chickens off of heads. Yeah, there you go. Ate the heads off of chickens. And
we sacrificed a goat and drank each other's blood. And I was like, fuck, why did I do this for my wedding?
Yeah.
Blew it.
On the renewals, you know.
Yes, our renewal is all going to be
just all the
goth
all the goats in the area are gone.
I don't know. I love goats.
They're spoken for. They are
We'll just pretend. We'll pretend. We'll use one of those collapsible knives.
Okay, there you go. There you go. Brittany.
Yeah, it's a fake knife. Honey, no, it's not.
We got it from Brittany's prop store.
House of Spears. I think that Jenna Ortega was delightful in this movie. She's different enough from Wednesday. Yep. I mean, she's still kind of the dark and moody, morose, deadpan. Yeah. I felt so bad for her. This reminded me of Wednesday a lot. Did you watch Wednesday?
Yeah.
So in Wednesday goes on her first date and he ends up being evil.
Yeah.
And then in this one, Astrid ends up going on her first date. Spoiler, he's evil.
Oh, the dead guy too. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's dead and wants to
murder Suede, his family.
Yeah, and he wants to. That shook me.
Yeah, that I wasn't expecting.
No, it was dark.
Yeah.
It was good. And wants Astrid to come to the afterlife so that he can steal her soul, trade a life so he can go back and be a little shit on Earth again. So that leads to Lydia being like, oh my God, I can't believe I have to do this, but Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
I need his help.
Yeah.
We also have Justin Theroux, who plays Lydia's manager / boyfriend, fiance. He is so greasy and comical in this movie. His little throwaway lines where he's like, I just was helpfully getting boxes from the store.
Yeah, he's very weaponizing therapy speak, as we talk about all the time. But he was really like the way that they costume designed him and like gave him his hair.
Slicked back hair.
Is the creepy dude from Charlie's Angels, the first one.
Who's sniffing the handfuls of hair.
The hair. Like that was the inspo. That was all they needed. It was exactly copy paste that guy.
He was hilarious. He was creepy. You could tell no one liked him. I mean, Catherine O'Hara hates him. So funny.
Jenna Ortega's character hates him.
They all hate him. And even Lydia is like,
I don't really like him, but he loves me.
He loves me and I kind of need, I don't know, like I've been denying love. And, you know, she got a divorce from Astrid's father who then died. Yeah. Which adds a nice layer of, you know, Astrid's backstory and why she's as depressed as she is. And she gets to reunite with her dad in the afterlife, which is so sad. Oh my God, he's got little piranhas.
Yeah, it was stuck in him.
That's a handsome man, though. I don't know who that actor was. He was handsome.
He was very your type. Yeah, I really, really liked it. Winona Ryder kind of talked about how before she had really seen like the full script, she'd always kind of seen Lydia as a person who would never have a child or never get married or never fall in love and kind of just be stuck with these ghosts. So I thought it was kind of like an interesting compromise that they came to have the husband already be dead and Lydia, as she says in the first like 20 minutes of the film, sell out and become this
talk show
ghost
host,
medium and kind of betray them. And I wish they had really brought that in more too. As soon as like Adam and Barbara disappeared, like she felt like because they really became her parents in the end of the movie.
Yeah, they were parental figures and her friends.
Then she's just gone, and I wish they'd kind of delve into that part more.
They could have done it in claymation. That would have been cute.
Yeah, it could have been.
I missed them after they were gone, and then I was never close with Delia. Her and Delia they've gotten closer over the years. I think they kind of show in this movie they have like an understanding of each other and like a respect, but they're not exactly close.
Yeah, she's like, once I sold out and making a bunch of money, you liked me.
Yeah, now that I'm loaded, you started liking me. That's weird. Delia's still an artist. Her art in the movie is so funny. Like, the funeral shroud over the whole house, and the performance art.
Yeah, very.
God, she's hilarious.
I really, really liked it. I think it's one of those sequels that definitely worth a rewatch. Like I walked out of it and was like, man, I want to see that again. Yeah. Just sort of like pick up the things that
the little jokes you might have missed. Yeah.
And normally I'm an avid, like, I do not go see a second movie if I never saw Anchorman 2. Like I really didn't think it needed it. No. And so normally I'm like an avid, I don't go for a stupid sequel. But I do really think that this was a great one. It was with immense respect to the story and ultimately made it still campy and fun and throwbacks to the original movie, but not in a way where it really overdid it.
I agree. I think it was a good addition to the story and of the next step of Lydia's life and Delia's life, and Beetlejuice looks amazing and he's so funny. In the end, again, we get to see Lydia's red wedding dress come back because Beetlejuice is still trying to marry her.
If you are watching on
years.
YouTube, you will see that I was very Lydia Dietz wedding inspired.
We showed up to this movie today and she's looking like a fucking snack and I am hungover and just like in a hat and just like... Oh God!
She was like, "You look like my femme girlfriend right
like,
now."
We look like a lesbian
really
couple, and like I'm like the butch one. My little femme girlfriend.
It's fine.
I mean, I'm here for it. It's adorable.
I really wanted to bring the Lydia, and so far this movie has, as of today, grossed $264 million globally, nearly $200 million domestically. And according to the New York Times, there was a time during the film's development when the studio tried to push it as a Max streaming exclusive.
This needed to be in theaters. Like, come on. Yeah. I'm really glad that it was in theaters. It's worth it.
I'm happy that they did it in that way.
I love going to the movies. I go to the movies probably once a week. Yeah. I just love it.
Yeah, I enjoy a movie experience. I do like the ability to pause and talk and chit and chat.
Pee and
stuff, and have my own snacks. But if there's a good movie coming out, it's worth like putting your money into art you care about.
It's just like Nicole Kidman says, glimmering pictures on a silver screen. Heartbreak feels good in a place like this.
and ultimately, before we close this episode out, do you think we get a third Beetlejuice for Beetlejuice?
I don't think so.
Really?
I don't think so. I think it took so long to make this movie. Burton had to drop the budget from $147 million to $100 million to get the film even greenlit. Keaton, Ryder, O'Hara, and Ortega all had to take pay cuts. I mean, they still made a crap ton of money.
Yeah.
But I think it was just such a long time in the making that I'm not sure if they need a third one. I mean, there was like some Beetlejuice babies teased, which were creepy and disgusting.
Yeah, that's so scary.
But I think it ran its course. That's my opinion. I think if there was a third one, at that point, it would feel kind of like a gratuitous cash grab.
Yeah, I could see it with the main villain coming back and really going after like Lydia and those people. But yeah, it would still have to be really, really well done. I don't think Catherine O'Hara or any of them are going to come back again. I think it could still get Winona just because she's like in love with Tim Burton and would do anything for him.
And Michael Keaton's not getting any younger too.
Yeah, thankfully, that Beetlejuice,
that makeup covers it real well.
It's all prosthetics, baby. So he didn't have that problem.
No. But I mean, the cast is all aging and has other projects. So I think this was like a love letter to fans, and I think it needs to stop there.
And ultimately, I think it was for each of the actors a love letter to their characters.
Yeah.
they all talk about them with such reverence and respect for them. And a lot of people have said Tim Burton was one of the most influential directors in their careers and taught them to speak up for themselves and advocate for a character.
Yeah, when he got his Walk of Fame star recently, and Winona Ryder said, like, you kind of made it feel like it was okay to be a weird, creepy goth teenager because you love me for who I was. And I love that about Tim Burton. Brings out the weirdos in all of us.
Yes.
I wonder what would happen if our listeners said our names 3 times. Pop culture, pop. I can't do it. No.
Yeah. It was an attempt.
It was an attempt. Well, if you want to summon us, you can try that, or you can find us on social media. Olivia, where can the people find you?
You can find me, Olivia, on Instagram at Livy Maries, LIVIMARIEZ.
You can find me, Shauna, on Instagram at Shauna Trinidad, SHAUNATRINIDAD. Don't forget, you can manifest the Pop Culture Junkie podcast social media links and more on our website, popculturejunkie.com. From there, you can find our podcast on all platforms where you can follow, subscribe, rate, review. You can and you should do it all. I mean, please do all of that, please.
Honestly, if you can't join Patreon, we're all living in a economic hardship. Really, anything helps. 5-star review, likes, comments, follow on Instagram.
I need to feed my family.
She's gonna have to take a 4th job.
I need to take a 4th job. Oh my God, the minute you said I have 3 jobs, my soul dropped out of my ass just a little. It was soul sucked by Beetlejuice's ex-wife. Yeah. You can also check out that budget-friendly tier on Patreon. Every subscription helps us to bring you the best of pop culture every week. Find us at patreon.com/popculturejunkiepodcast. Sign up for our uncensored content, and we promise to love you forever. Please come back next time for another hit of pop culture.
The Pop Culture Junkie podcast is produced by Jeff Markin and Cheryl Lightfoot for the Pop Culture Entertainment Network.